So synapse means it is a close proximity between neurons, that is between the synaptic knob of one neuron with the dendrite of another neuron. So through this synapse only the transmission of impulse takes place from one neuron to the another neuron. So the synapse which helps in transmission of impulse from one neuron to another, from one neuron to another. So such a synapse which helps in the transmission of the impulse from the one neuron to the another neuron, that exact transmission of the impulse takes place with the help of neural transmitter if the synapse is of chemical synapse. If it is an electrical synapse means no need of the neural transmitters. Neural transmitter will be absent. So these synapses are of two types again. The types of synapse. So there are two types are there. The one is chemical synapse, and the second one is electrical synapse. What is the difference between these two synapses? So in chemical synapse, the transmission of the impulse takes place with the help of neural transmitters. Okay, here the neural transmitters are present. What about in electrical synapse here? Neural transmitters are absent. So no need of any neural transmitters here. So neural transmitters are absent. And here in chemical synapse. So what is the gap or what is the size of that synapse means here? The gap or synaptic cleft, the gap between one neuron to the another neuron is called as a synaptic cleft. So the synaptic cleft is of 10 to 20 nanometer. What about in case of the electrical synapse, whether the synaptic cleft is present? Whether it is present means. So here the synaptic cleft may be present, may not be present. So here the synaptic cleft if present, usually absent. If present means is of what is the size of that one? 0.2 kilometers nanometer. The size of that synaptic cleft will be just 0.2 nanometer, right? 0.2 na 2 na? 2 only. 0.2 is for diffusion membrane, right? Diffusion membrane. Open it material once. Material open ಮಾಡಿ. Anidana. So it is of 0.2. So that is what the size of electrical synapse. Okay. Any doubt in this one? Other than this, what other differences you can see here? Any other differences are there? Here? Unidirectional flow. That is, the transmission of impulse is unidirectional here. Unidirectional transmission of impulse takes place here. But here in case of electrical synapse, it is bidirectional. The one more important difference is that one, there is a presence of synaptic buttons in case of chemical synapse. What do you mean by synaptic button? Synaptic button is nothing but the synaptic knob and the presence of synaptic vesicles within that one. So here synaptic buttons are present. So for this write down the synaptic buttons present in case of chemical synapse. But whereas in case of electrical synapse here, the synaptic buttons are absent. These buttons are absent. And the major difference between the chemical synapse and the electrical synapse is the speed of transmission of the impulse. So here the transmission of impulses will be slower in case of chemical synapse. So here the transmission is slower in case of chemical synapse. Why? Because it involves the mediating substances. What are those? Neural transmitters. But here no need of any mediators for the transmission of impulse. So the transmission of the impulse is as same as that of the axon, through the axon membrane. How the transmission or the conduction of impulse generated takes place? In the similar way only, same way only, the neural impulse will get transmitted from one neuron to the another neuron. So without any hassle in that one. So here the impulse transmission is faster. Impulse transmission is faster in case of electrical synapse. Then among these two type of synapse, which are the most common type of synapse in human beings? Okay, so these chemical synapse are the most common in the human beings, but electrical synapse, these are rare in humans. Rare in humans. So these are the major differences between the chemical synapse and then electrical synapse. So let's see the diagrammatic representation of synapse and then the synaptic cleft, and what are the components of that synapse now. Axon endings. So the axon endings give rise to the bulb like, the swellings, those are called as the synaptic knobs. What will be present in this synaptic knob? So it contains button like substances. What these are called as? Synaptic vesicles. So these are synaptic vesicles. These synaptic vesicles are filled with the chemicals. What these chemicals are called as? Neural transmitters. So these are called as neural transmitters. Neural transmitters. So chemicals within the synaptic vesicles are called as neural transmitters. Next, such a neural transmitters are released into the gap between synaptic knob of one neuron and then the dendrite of the another neuron. So this is representing the postsynaptic membrane, nothing but the dendrite of the other neuron. So this is the postsynaptic membrane. And the membrane of that synaptic knob is representing a presynaptic membrane. Presynaptic membrane, right? And then the gap between them, this gap is called as a synaptic cleft. So from here to here, this is called as synaptic cleft. So what the synaptic cleft is made up of then? What the synaptic cleft is made up of? It is made up of presynaptic membrane and then the gap and then postsynaptic membrane, right? So actually that is not called synaptic cleft. So what the synapse is made up of? Synapse is made up of presynaptic membrane and then gap between end of what is it? Axon endings and then the dendrite of another neuron. So the gap between that presynaptic membrane and postsynaptic membrane is called as synaptic cleft. So synaptic cleft and then postsynaptic membrane, presynaptic membrane together called as synapse. Together called as synapse. So synapse is made up of, or the synapse contains presynaptic membrane, next synaptic cleft, and postsynaptic membrane. All three together forms a synapse. Okay. So how the transmission of the impulse takes place through this synapse? This is an example for the chemical synapse, right? The most common or the most abundant in the human body is chemical synapse only. So we'll discuss about that only now. So what happens whenever the nerve impulse or the impulse generated reaches the synaptic knob or the axon endings? What happens during that time? What happens when the nerve impulses reaches the axon endings, right? So what may happen at the time? Exactly. That is influx of calcium ions takes place, right? Influx of calcium ions takes. So what are the sequential events of neural transmission? So the events of neural transmission, the events of neural transmission. So what are the events during neural transmission through that synapse? Means the first one, nerve impulse arises, nerve impulse reaches or arrives at axon ending. So here axon ending is nothing but the synaptic knobs. So when it reaches the axon ending, what happens? It induces influx of, means inward movement of calcium ions from the surrounding fluid, nothing but here extracellular fluid, ECF, extracellular fluid. So from the surrounding fluid, what happens? The inward movement of calcium ions takes place. When the calcium ions enters into that synaptic knob. So where that calcium ions enters? Into synaptic knob. So what happens because of the influx of the calcium ions? Now these calcium ions that induce synaptic vesicles to move towards the presynaptic membrane. So this in turn induces synaptic vesicles to move and bind to presynaptic membrane. So that these synaptic vesicles, they move towards the periphery of that synaptic membrane of that synaptic knob, and they bind with the presynaptic membrane. Then what happens? Membrane of that synaptic vessel rupture because of the calcium ions only. Calcium ions induces rupture of the synaptic vesicle membrane, means they fuse with the presynaptic membrane, and the rupture of that vesicle or the membrane of the vesicle, that leads to the release of neural transmitter into the synaptic cleft. So that as a result of that one, these neural transmitters will be released into synaptic cleft. So neural transmitters are now released to the synaptic cleft. So what happens here? Membrane and fuses with presynaptic membrane. Presynaptic membrane. Then what happens? Rupture of a membrane of synaptic vesicle. Membrane of synaptic vesicle. So that releases neural transmitter. Into synaptic cleft. What happens after the release of neural transmitter to the synaptic cleft? Now what happens? Neural transmitter. These neural transmitter binds to receptors which are present over the presynaptic membrane. So here and there will be the receptors which are present over the postsynaptic membrane. So when they bind to the receptors present over the postsynaptic membrane, that open ion channels or the ion gates into the another neuron. So the neural transmitter binds to receptors on postsynaptic membrane. So this opens, what happens here? Which opens the ion channels and the movement of ions into the another neuron induces or generates nerve impulse in the next neuron into which ions are entered. Like that, the conduction or the transmission of this nerve impulse which occurs or which is mediated through neural transmitters. When that neural transmitters are released into the synaptic cleft, when they bind to the specific receptors which are present over the synaptic membrane, postsynaptic membrane, their binding only induces the generation of the same nerve impulse in the next neuron. Okay, means exactly it will not be transmitted, but that information is transmitted in the form of neural transmitters. They induce the another neuron to generate the same type of nerve impulse or the neural impulse. In this way, the neural impulse is conducted from one neuron to the another neuron through a close proximity between one neuron to another neuron called as a synapse. Okay, that involves two layers. What are those? Postsynaptic membrane and then the presynaptic membrane. Before the release of neural transmitters, synaptic vesicles that fuses with the membrane of the presynaptic membrane and membrane of synaptic vesicle ruptures. And which is responsible for the rupture of that membrane? Calcium ions. And such neural transmitters bind to the receptors present over the postsynaptic membrane and leads to the opening of the ion channels and entry of that ion channels into the postsynaptic membrane that generate the neural impulse in the next neuron. In this way, the nerve impulse is being transmitted from one neuron to another neuron. Any doubt in this one? Okay, here. But here, the nerve impulse generated, it may be either it may be the excitatory or inhibitory. So there are two natures or two type of impulse can be generated, either excitatory or inhibitory. Okay, so this is how nerve impulses are being transmitted from one neuron to the another neuron through the structure called as synapse that contains presynaptic membrane, postsynaptic membrane and then the synaptic cleft. But in case of electrical impulse, this close proximity between one neuron to another neuron will be absent. If present means the gap is of only 0.2 nanometer or the negligible one. so that a direct transmission of the impulses takes place without involving any neural transmitters. Neural transmitters will be present only in case of chemical synapse. Can you give the example of neural transmitters then? Can you give the example of neural transmitter? And how many molecule neural transmitter will be present in each synaptic vesicle? ಎಷ್ಟು ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಹಾಗಾದರೆ? In synaptic vesicle, each synaptic vesicle that contains how many neural transmitter? Yes, which contains about 10,000 molecules. 10,000 molecules of neural transmitter. Each synaptic vesicle contains 10,000 molecules of the synaptic vesicle. Clear? So next, types of neural transmitters. So these neural transmitters are of two types, that is excitatory and inhibitory. Can you give the example of excitatory neural transmitter? Acetylcholine. Okay. Other than acetylcholine? Acetylcholine. Okay. Dopamine. Next. Yes, other than this? Histamine. Okay. Histamine. So acetylcholine, the dopamine, and then the histamine. But here this acetylcholine is excitatory only for general muscles, and nerves. General muscles as well as the nerves. But same acetylcholine is inhibitory. Same acetylcholine is inhibitory also. For where it is inhibitory means for cardiac muscles. For cardiac muscle, acetylcholine is inhibitory. For general muscles and then the nerves, acetylcholine is excitatory in action. Okay. What about these dopamine and then the histamine? So these are excitatory for all muscles and nerves. Next here, inhibitory, other example, serotonin. These are antagonistic to each other, right? Histamine causes dilation of the blood vessel. Serotonin causes contraction of the blood vessel. So these two are antagonistic to each other, or contrasting to each other in their function. So if histamine is excitatory, then serotonin will be inhibitory in action. So serotonin, so like that you can add the glycine, and then GABA. What is the full form of GABA? What is the full form of GABA? Yes, what is the full form of GABA here? It is gamma amino butyric acid. The full form of GABA is gamma amino butyric acid. So these are inhibitory in function for all nerves as well as muscles. Okay. So these are the general inhibitory transmitters. Is it clear? Then see, so far 30 amino peptides or amino derivatives and 60 different types of neuropeptides are identified with similar action. So what the similar action means here? Nothing but the neural transmission. So how many amino peptides are involved in the neural transmission, or amino derivatives are involved in the neural transmission? 30 different types. What about the neuropeptides? 60 different type of neuropeptides. So these are involved in transmission of the impulses. Okay. So this is how the various type of neural transmitters belongs to excitatory or inhibitory. Okay. So remember the nature of action of type of neural transmitter and their examples. That is very important for the NEET examination. Is it clear? Then, as we discussed regarding the muscle contraction, if the contracted muscles has to undergo relaxation, means that is the neural transmitter released into the neuromuscular junction called as acetylcholine must be broken down into acetate and then the choline, and that is being carried out by an enzyme called as what is that? Cholesterase, right? That cholesterase that breaks the acetylcholine into acetate and then the choline. So here also, in order to stop the activity or the excitatory activity of the acetylcholine, it must be broken down into acetate and then the choline will be carried out by an enzyme called as cholesterase. Okay, here also we can mention the activity of that cholesterase enzyme. So this is regarding the types of neural transmitters and their examples. Any doubt? So this is what regarding neural transmission. Make a note of these points. So next is regarding central nervous system. The central nervous system, as we said earlier, it contains brain and then the spinal cord. So it involves the two structures. What are those? These, the brain and then spinal cord. Let's discuss about the spinal cord later. Now let's focus on the brain. Okay. The human brain is divided into three parts initially. What are those three parts? This human brain is divided into three parts. What is it? First one is called as a forebrain. Next is midbrain, and the next one is the hindbrain. Okay. Forebrain is also called as, yes, it is called as prosencephalon, and the midbrain is also called as mesencephalon, and hindbrain is also called as rhombencephalon. Right? Okay. Next, this prosencephalon is divided into three parts. What are those? That is telencephalon, okay, diencephalon, one more. Yes, anyone remember that one? That is rhinencephalon. Okay. So telencephalon, rhinencephalon, and then that diencephalon. And midbrain is called as mesencephalon, and then hindbrain is called as rhombencephalon. Okay. Yes, what this forebrain contains then? What this forebrain contains? What are the parts that comes under the forebrain? So this forebrain contains. Yes, what are the structures comes here? Olfactory lobes are present, right? Olfactory lobes, and then cerebrum. Along with that one, diencephalon. These are the three parts which comes under the forebrain. What about the midbrain, what it includes? What the midbrain includes? Corpora quadrigemina, right? So it includes corpora quadrigemina, okay, cerebral aqueduct, right? Okay, cerebral aqueduct, and called as here cerebral cruri, right? Cerebral cruri. So these are the parts which comes under the midbrain. Next, what are the parts that comes under the hindbrain? Yes. Hindbrain, again it is divided into metencephalon and myencephalon. Metencephalon and then the myencephalon. What the metencephalon indicates here, what it includes. So here myencephalon, which includes medulla oblongata, right? Then what are the last two parts comes under the brain? Pons and then cerebellum. So here it includes the pons and cerebellum. Okay, this metencephalon includes the pons and then the cerebellum. This myencephalon includes only medulla oblongata. So this is what the divisions of the brain are, schematic representation of a division of the human brain. So how many basic divisions are there? Only three. That is forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain is called as prosencephalon, midbrain is called as mesencephalon, hindbrain is called as rhomencephalon. And forebrain is divided into three parts. What are those three parts? Telencephalon, rhinencephalon, diencephalon. When this division takes place and which part of the anterior nerve tube, which part of the nerve tube divides? Already answered it. Anterior part of the neural tube. Anterior part of neural tube during the embryonic stage. Just recall your memory regarding chordates and then the non-chordates. Difference between chordate and then the non-chordate. See, what are the four characteristic features which are present in the vertebrates means, at least in embryonic stage they have pharyngeal gill slits. There is a presence of nerve tube, that is the nerve cord, and then nerve cord as well as that is nerve cord is there. Along with that one, what is it? Notochord will be present. Post anal tail will be present. So this nerve cord, which is present in the embryonic stage, its anterior part undergoes division and give rise to the formation of three divisions of the brain that are nothing but the part of the forebrain called as the telencephalon, rhinencephalon and then the diencephalon. So these divisions which are formed during forebrain, so this undergoes that give rise to three parts. What are those? Telencephalon, rhinencephalon and diencephalon. These are the divisions of the anterior nerve tube or anterior part of the nerve tube. So when this division occurs means during or in embryo, the anterior nerve tube divides into three parts. Those are only called as telencephalon, rhinencephalon and diencephalon. Okay, that is regarding the central nervous system of human body, which contains brain and spinal cord. Particularly the brain is divided into these many parts, and this schematic representation very important for the NEET examination. So from this point of view, how they may ask the questions means, instead of that mesencephalon they may give it as A, right? Instead of here any other part they may give it as B, and here and there as the C and then the D. So what the A, B, C and D indicates for the schematic representation of division of brain, human brain. Okay. If you know this representation means you can answer any type of question based on this schematic representation. Any doubt in this one? Make a note of this. So central nervous system, CNS, so which is made up of, central nervous system is made up of neurons. These neurons constitute 85% of the mass of neural system. 85% of the total mass of the neural system here, that is in CNS, central nervous system, which is such CNS which is protected inside the cranium, or what it is called as the skull, cranium or skull, which is also called as brain box. So which is called as cranium, skull or the brain box. So this is what the protective structure present around the brain, that is called as the cranium or the skull or the brain box. So this cranium give rise to the formation of 3 protective layers around the brain. What those are called as? Cranial meninges. Those are called as cranial meninges. So this cranium which forms 3 protective layers around the brain called meninges. Those layers are called as meninges. So what are those meninges? Yes, what are these meninges here? That is what the outer layer is called as. The outer one is called as dura mater. The middle one is called as arachnoid, and the inner layer is called as pia mater. These are the 3 meninges forms protective structure around the brain, right? So these dura mater, arachnoid and then the pia mater, if you want to represent it in the form of diagrammatic representation, see for example the outermost layer, okay, so before say for example this is what the bony covering means nothing but cranium is made up of bones only, right? So this bony covering, what it is called as, the bone is covered by means of structure, what is called as periosteum. What is called as periosteum. This layer is called as periosteum. Then that the bone, this bony layer is called as bony layer. This bony layer is called nothing but cranium, means cranial bone. Below that there is the presence of 3 protective layer. The first one is called as, means this is the outermost one, this is called as dura mater. Below the dura mater there is the presence of the middle layer. What this middle layer is called as? This is arachnoid, and below the arachnoid presence of one more layer. So what this innermost layer is called as? This is the pia mater. So between these three layers, some space may be present. What that space is called as? Okay, that is the space present between the dura mater and then the arachnid. Such a space. So here space will be present. That space is called as subdural space. So between dura mater and then the arachnid, between them, the space present is called as subdural space. So space between dura mater, outer dura mater and arachnid, that is middle layer called as arachnid, is called as subdural space. Like that, what about between the arachnid and pia mater is called as subarachnid space. It's like that, similarly, the space between arachnid and pia mater, but between middle layer and then the innermost layer is called as subarachnid space. Okay, so these two are the space present between these three layers at brain region of the central nervous system, or brain part of the central nervous system. What about the one more space, that is the space present between this dura mater with the bone or vertebral column or the bony layer of that vertebral column? Then it is called as what it may be called epidural space. Similarly, the space present between dura mater and vertebral column, that is called as, epidural space. Where do you find the presence of epidural space? In brain or the spinal cord. This epidural space will be absent in the brain, but that is present only at spinal cord. It can be seen present only in spinal cord, but not in the brain. Epidural space can be present only in the spinal cord, but not in the brain region. Understood? Okay, next. Functions of central nervous system. So here, central nervous system, particularly in that brain, this brain acts as the main controlling and processing unit of body. Controlling and as well as the processing unit of body, which coordinate and integrate the functions of the various systems in our body. Okay, and this brain is associated with, such as it controls the functions of involuntary organs. What are the involuntary organs here? Such as the heart, and then kidney and liver. Is it possible to alter the functions of liver with our own or with our willpower? No, right? Can you stop the production of bile from the liver? Right? Can you stop the contraction of the sphincter present at gallbladder, or opening of pancreatic duct into the duodenum region? No, right? So those involuntary functions are being controlled by central nervous system, that is brain here. And it also controls, what is that one? the voluntary movements. It also contains controls voluntary movements in body. The voluntary movements are under the control of the central nervous system. But here, these movements are voluntary in nature, means only if you desire, then only that movements can take place in your body parts. If you don't wish to show that movement, means it cannot be initiated. Okay, so that voluntary movements are also under the control of central nervous system only, but these actions are voluntary in nature, means they can be controlled according to our willpower. Yes, other than that one, the other functions such as what is that one? Circadian rhythm of body. What do you mean by circadian rhythm? Circadian rhythm. Circadian, what it is called as? Day and night. Okay, day and night. Instead of that one, you can write 24 hours, right? 24-hour rhythm of body. Means whatever the activities or the basic activities required for the alive or livingness of that organism. Okay, those basic processes, the central nervous system, that is the brain. Along with that one, it also controls the temperature of body, and also, yes, thirst, yes, temperature of body, and then thirst, and then various physiological functions, along with that one, the brain also acts as seat of intelligence. Next, it also acts as the seat or the site of intelligence. Thinking capacity, that is thinking, yes, memory, and interpretation. Along with that one, yes, even it also controls emotions, and then behavior. Okay, if you behave differently, that is not the fault of you, that is the fault of your brain or the central nervous system. Okay, next, along with that one, it also processes the information which are received through the sensory organs, and also serve for the process of information or the sensory information which is received by the sensory organs. What are the major sensory organs present in our body? Eye, nose, ear, tongue, and then skin. That sensory information will be processed in the brain. So this is what regarding the function of brain under central nervous system. Any doubt in this one? Okay, so this is enough for today's class. The remaining aspects we are going to discuss in the next class. Any doubt in today's class? Okay, fine. Thank you.